Good.
Yeah. You got the good stuff then. Yeah. Wow. Well, I happened to be at Walmart and they said, "Hey, we got this."
All I can say about that is just ask the New York Yankees how it works digitally. They all have to change things. They all had it April 6th. April 6th, they all have JJ. And whatever, as of last week, they had 9. Well, but that's about right. If they have 50 guys, it's only 70% effective. 30% of 50 is 15 if they got 9. That's a big surprise.
Yeah, they're all getting pretty ready.
Cable team.
Yes, they are. Yep. Good evening. Today is May 20th, 2021. Welcome to the Village of Vernon Board meeting. We will call the Village Board to order with the Pledge of Allegiance and a standing moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Roll call and open meeting law compliance check.
President Carl Fortner.
Present.
Trustee Jim Solani.
Present.
Trustee Dan DeGrave.
Present.
Trustee Marie Kumershek. Trustee Lorene Dashek.
Present.
Mr. President, note for the record, you do have a quorum of your village board present. Also note for the record that DPW Director John Henneberry is here, and Terry Winarski, the village treasurer, is here. Also Ward Harlingworth, the Waukesha County Sheriff that represents the village of Vernon, is here also. Mr. President, the agenda was posted inside and outside the Vernon Town Hall, to the media, to the Village of Vernon website. You're in full compliance with the open meetings law.
Thank you. Item 4, I need to read or announce the possible closed session. Consideration and possible action on a motion to convene into executive session under Wisconsin statutes 19.85 1E, deliberating of negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business, whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. More specifically, negotiations regarding the T-Mobile proposed lease agreement, North Prairie Municipal Court agreement and ordinance, and hydro excavation access easement. Included in closed session will be the Vernon Village Board and the Vernon Village Clerk Administrator. Motion requires a roll call vote. With that, number 5 is public comments. There are no public physically present here tonight, so we will go to the rest of the agenda, and unless there's an objection, we will deviate. Our Deputy Ward Hollingsworth is here. We'll start with him, and then we'll go to the Treasurer and then DPW. Deputy Hollingsworth, you got any pressing matters or things to report?
No. Seems like I am right now. Well, solicitor. Can you notify Walworth County also? Solicitors are becoming a problem. I did make contact. Spidex seems to be the one company. I made contact with somebody yesterday by phone and let them know that they need to get a permit if they're going to have people soliciting around here. And there was another kid last night around 9:30 caught in Highland subdivision off of Scotland, and sent him on his way. And now there's another solicitor that just tried to force entry into somebody's house down at Forest Home. So I gotta go.
Okay. Thank you. Right, and we've, Almost every meeting we announce any peddler needs a permit here at the Village of Vernon, and those are posted on our website when they're issued. And presently, there's nothing issued.
And that is, just so the board members know, I'm sure you've seen the emails on all the issues we're having. And as the village president stated, we always put the picture peddler's permit on the website so people can see the picture of the person, and they have to have it on them when they come to the home. Sorry, Mr. President.
Mr. President, as a matter of fact, my wife had somebody stop by, I think the night before last, when we were having our meeting. And she was not pleased because it was in the evening as well as
No permit.
no permit.
And just a reminder to call 262-446-5070. That goes directly to the dispatchers, and they're excellent about sending someone out immediately into the subdivision. And when they have, sometimes they've caught people that have some pretty significant records, so don't be afraid to call.
Right, and we just had a call tonight. We've heard that not only they pretend to be solicitors, but they're really looking for places to break in, and that's the problem. That's the real problem. Okay, with that, let's, if we could move our treasurer's report so we can get him in and out and on our way. Terry?
Okay. In regards to the stale checks that EMS had given us in March, we are down to needing to receive 2 of them from Gruber Law. And I was in contact with Gruber Law earlier this week. They said the checks will be issued and sent to us right away. The other checks have been received, and one that was received last week is currently going to be deposited. So that should get us up to date in regards to those stale checks.
So all of the, and there was a stack of them, I can't remember how many and what the total value of, or the total amounts of those checks were. So you're down to waiting for how many?
Two checks.
2 checks, and you've made contact, and they're probably going to be on their way, given a law firm is involved.
Yes, precisely.
So excellent work.
Thank you.
Questions? Yeah.
Terry, did you also want to tell the board that the company that bought off EMS Medical Billing is now sending directly the checks that they were sending to the fire department directly to us, and we're accounting for that also?
Yes, yeah, we're doing that, and we're putting all that in folders to keep as reference for the time being.
Right.
If I may, Terry, the new company is LifeQuest, is that correct?
Yes.
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 Okay. Can you tell, do you have any idea how much we've received in the last month or so? Or since they've taken over?
No, I don't have that information.
He'll have it for the staff meeting because it is substantial. I want you to see that, the difference. Because Terry's only been here for a little bit, but he'll have that ready for you. Right, Terry?
Yes.
Okay, anything else for Terry Winarski, our treasurer?
Yeah,
Yes,
I
Mary.
just have a quick question for you, Terry. If this is your treasurer's report, is there another report that you give us with balances of bank accounts and outstanding checks and things?
It's coming next. This is not his treasurer's report. This is just the EMS medical billing
EMS.
report.
Okay, but
He will do, yes.
Okay, thanks.
Yes,
Yes.
it was last month.
Other questions? Otherwise, Terry, have a good evening, and
Thank you.
we'll see you next Thursday.
Yes.
DPW Director, John.
Well, obviously, like I said, it's been a busy last couple of weeks here with the brush pickup going on. We are running a little behind because of the quantity, amount of piles out there. We should be wrapping up tomorrow. I do have the chipper scheduled for Monday, so hopefully we can get that chipped up in a day and start delivering. I'm hoping to have all the wood chips delivered that were paid for prior to Memorial Weekend. So that's my goal. It's gonna be pushing it, but it's doable probably, hopefully so.
What do you do with the chips then? Do people come and pick them up?
Yeah, you can pick them up for free, or we charge $30 to deliver a load. So
And we have a lot to give out.
we have a lot ordered already, yes, that people have already come and prepaid for. So they will be getting theirs first, and then whatever we have left over, if the people want to come in and access. Like I said, if they want to bring a trailer here, pick them up, we'll even load them for them or whatever, so. But we, just as long as we're not delivering,
And that's during business hours?
yeah,
It's back-
7 to
it's
3:30.
7 to 3:30, right?
Yeah.
They can't show up on a weekend or after
No.
3:30 or at night?
Right, weekdays only, so. We did have a couple small, we had one hydraulic hose blow on our excavator during this, kind of put us back a few hours one day, but kind of minor really, so we did pretty well with that. We've got two seasonal workers starting after Memorial Weekend. They're in school, so as soon as school is out, they'll be here. One of them's returning from last year, and then the other one's a newer kid. So hopefully it'll work out for us. I do have a part-time retired guy right now, giving me a couple days a week here and there, just cutting grass. So trying to keep up on it. So, and then once we get done with this brush pickup, we're going to be jumping into some culvert work over on where we're going to be paving this year, Stonehill Court, Stonehill and all that area up there, Pheasant, Olympia Courts, north and south. Got a few culverts to replace there. So that's going to be our next project as soon as we can get through this brush pickup here. So roadside mowing also, as soon as we can get somebody out there, we're going to get somebody out on the mower. We do have most of that all the signs that I ordered for the village update. I have them here, just a matter of getting some time to get them installed. So we got them here. So, and then on that LRIP grant for the road paving, I finally got through today. They had a problem with their system on their end, and it took him till today basically to get it straightened out. He called me, gave me an email this morning and said, yeah, I think we got it figured out. So I finally got online and I could get through and give them the rest of the documents that they need. So hopefully, if that's all they needed right now, we should be getting that refund. If it's $19,000, $19,712.56.
56 cents?
Yes. So, but I've been going back and forth with these people for the last month, 2 months, because their computer system somehow was not letting us on. And I said, can I forward you the information some other way? And they insisted, no, it's got to be done on their system. So they finally got that straightened out for us. So hopefully we should be getting that in the near future. So.
John, I have a question. Not to make your list longer, but on the drive over here, I noticed that now that it's starting to leaf out, that at the intersections, sometimes it's hard to see around. Do you guys is that part of the normal plan to
Yeah.
make sure that the intersections are at least cleared
Right.
for sight?
Yep, I'll send the guys out. We'll just go do intersections, whatever, trim back what we need to.
Okay,
But yeah, everything starts to hang down a little lower with the leaves on it, so
exactly.
pretty typical.
Leaves out. Thank you.
Other questions for John? John, you're on for staff as well. Talk about capital dump truck
Yes,
at staff.
Hold on,
okay.
I got it.
Okay.
I gave her the numbers for that and everything for the,
Speaking of capital, I was admiring your new front-end loader that came in this week. You know what I mean? I saw something being to a.
well, that, see, that wasn't our,
I don't know if it was.
that wasn't our new one. The new one that we got 2 weeks ago,
Oh, yeah.
we had a tree down over on Maple Avenue on a windy Saturday 2 weeks ago. We had it for a week, Tyler drove it down there, got the sand hill. It started overheating and kind of went berserk with all the computer stuff. So we parked it. I went and picked them up, came back, took the other loader down there, and we ended up limping that one back after the fact. The guy come out from Volvo. He checked it out. It was 15 quarts of hydraulic fluid low. And so he filled it up. So then we went to use it the other day for something else go down the road, and it was doing the same thing. So then Bo brought it back here and went to check the transmission fluid, and it shot out. All the hydraulic fluid somehow was going into the transmission internally. So the one that you saw was our rental, because they picked up the new one,
Okay.
took it back. So, yeah.
Loaner, you mean, we're not paying rent?
No, a loaner, correct. I mean, it was,
Yeah.
because I told him, I said, we need that machine for brush.
Yeah.
I said, so if you're gonna take it, you need to bring us another one. So that was what they're dropping off, so.
This is a Volvo problem, isn't it?
Yeah, apparently, they think there must be some seals internally leaking, hydraulic and the transmission fluid are somehow combining.
Gasket or seals?
Yeah,
Guessing.
so. Well, they did. They checked all the levels, but they probably never ran it. And it only happens when we're running down the road, like in high gear, it seems like. So we can drive it around the yard. It was working fine. But I hate to use it more than we had to in case I didn't want to damage something.
Right.
So, yeah. Well, especially when Mr. Hollingsworth was waiting for us down there, and the dispatcher's calling me, "Hey, are you guys coming or what?" I said, "We're on our way." We had a slight delay, so yeah. But
Yeah, I was wondering about the caravan. There and back and several times.
yeah,
Yeah, that's why.
sometimes you got to work the bugs out of them. I guess seems like all that new equipment seems like, yeah. And a lot of that, like even in loaders, there's so much technical stuff on them now. It's all and they'll plug their computer in to diagnose everything. It's whole different than years past. So.
Other questions for John? Otherwise, we can get John on his way to enjoy the rest of the evening. And we'll see you next Thursday and
Sounds good.
talk about dump trucks. And John and I did talk about the hydro excavating access easement, so I've been briefed on that and for closed session. Okay, back to our regular agenda. Village of Vernon bond schedules, number 6, letter A. This is a draft, of course, and we'll let our clerk administrator, who drafted this, walk us through it. And
The Waukesha County board had said, how desperately they're obviously looking to actually write Village of Vernon citations, and I know Trustee Slani is working diligently with the court system, and the reason we drafted a new bond schedule is our previous bond schedule didn't cover all of our ordinances, where now they can enforce all of our ordinances. So all this is for you to take home, look at it, get some opinions, because Attorney Macy at staff will go through it with you on the 27th, and then hopefully the goal is to get it adopted by the 2nd, so I can get that to the sheriff's department, because they don't write manual tickets anymore. Everything's done electronically, everything. So they're all waiting to get this all imported into, and it goes electronically to all the court systems. It'll go electronically to North Prairie. Everything will be handled. But that's really why it's in your packet, for you to get a chance to look at it, study it before you go to staff, and then John can answer any questions you might have, or say, I'd suggest doing it this way or that way. But at least it gives you some time to review it and look at other people's bond schedules, whatever you feel is appropriate. But it just gives you time before you meet with the attorney. Thank you, Mr. President.
There are a couple on here that don't have an ordinance number assigned. to them.
I'll double check that.
I mean, you know, like there's the dog attacks or harbor vicious dogs, you know, there's no ordinance number assigned. And a couple of them, I don't think we actually have an ordinance for. Maybe that's why they were blank. I was just,
Yeah, I'll look. I know we did take this from McGuanago, who has John Macy as their attorney and who's reviewed, they have an actual police department, a full-time police department. So I'll double check that also, but it's not meant for adoption. All it is meant for you to take a look at and get your opinion on, and then work with John at the staff meeting.
Couple simple questions. Number one, what is the DEP? Does that mean deposit?
Yes, and that's important because that's what's collected immediately.
So if they're found guilty, then the first offense could be that's just that deposit, in a sense.
Yeah,
If it's
it
$100 deposit, first offense is $100. If they're found guilty, then basically we just keep that.
What's $100 plus all the other charges, because there's automatic charges that go on every citation, and John will explain all that to you.
So you don't need to get into it anymore.
Right.
The other question I had is the ordinance is referenced here, but where do I find that ordinance?
If you go on the Village of Vernon website under departments, any departments, or click on just the ordinance, you'll see the whole list of all the Village of Vernon ordinances. Yeah. The only ones that aren't codified is when you look under new laws, like we just adopted floodplain, which we don't have any citations for yet. Hopefully won't ever. But if you see new laws, that's where pending new laws are. But you'll see them all on the Vernon's website.
Okay, thank you.
Carl, did you want to add anything?
No, I think that's right. Yeah, I just encourage everyone to look at these dollar amounts, you know, and we'll have to set them. I mean, that's basically it, and we want them set as a deterrent for behavior. I mean, we don't like, you know, in my view, we're not going to balance our budget with these, but it's really more to get people to comply with their ordinances. And there are going to be plus court assessments. John Macy, our attorney, can go through those. So it's, even though you say it's $100, well, with the court costs, it's going to be more than that.
It really bumps it up.
Yeah.
I'll explain, you know, all those. They haven't changed for several years, but anytime they make those individual charges change, it's throughout the state.
Right.
So everybody's citations move.
And the point on the court assessments is to pay for the municipal court. And right now, the municipal court that we're looking at is in effect paying for itself. It's not taxpayers who are paying for it, it's violators who are paying for it. So we will do this at staff. We've got, gonna have to have some time to go through it at staff.
what's the staff's date?
Next Thursday,
Next-
1 o'clock.
1 o'clock.
Yes.
Just want to make sure I had it in my.
And take off the board of review.
Yeah, I did do that. I did get through that one.
I knew that, but I wanted to make sure.
Yep, staff meeting 1 o'clock, all right.
Okay. So you don't need any direction. We've got a plan here.
Homework for board members and me to make sure that we have
Yeah, we got to get the
corresponding
ordinance numbers,
Yep.
and it'd be helpful to have that ordinance, to me anyway, to have the ordinance up on your computer and you can see. Authorize village engineer to conduct a bridge inspection of the Center Avenue Bridge. Clerk administrator has a report here. I know we had this inspected. It is getting very close to going, what, less than 50% or more? Whatever the
Yeah.
50% threshold is to get federal grant money. And the way the federal grant money works is it's probably better to apply sooner rather than later. Otherwise, we could be 2 or 3 years further out.
Well, I've been on the phone with the state DOT in regards to not only the bridge, but the roads that approach the bridge that have to be possibly reconstructed based upon what might happen with the bridge. Before you, you can see, I did not print out the whole 47-page document of the bridge report, but what I wanted to point out to you, and which is significant, is when you see the P67-100, the first thing the state had said is that means it's a really, really old bridge, built in 1961 and resurfaced in 1994. But on the second page, I wanted you to see that it qualifies for federal funding because it's wider than 20 feet. The only issue is it's at 50.3, which is very, very close to the threshold. It has to be at a 50 or lower to qualify for 80% federal funding. The problem is the grant has to be written. The deadline is October 15th, and the sooner you get the grant in, the better, because it's a competing grant with every bridge in the state of Wisconsin. So the writing of this grant is extremely significant. The other issue is this grant money. This grant money is being funded for the years 2022 to 2027. So if we miss this grant period, the next application for grants within 2 years, and it pushes those funding cycles to 2020-25 to 2020-29. So we're missing a significant opportunity for bridge money and or maybe some LRIP money or some money for those roads that we could not do because we didn't resurface because of the bridge. You all know that there's at least 1,000 feet on both sides of that bridge that may have to be reconstructed based upon what the design is. So the issue that's really critical for the village board right now is authorizing our village engineer to go out and reassess that bridge. The state felt, with looking at the report, that from October till now, that bridge will drop to 50 or 49.7, which puts us right in the parameter for 80% of federal funding for the bridge. And then I'd also like to apply for possibly funding for those roads that approach that bridge.
And the last time this was inspected,
Was October of last year, which
last
this.
year or?
No, last
No,
year.
it's just last year, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And even, I was concerned when I talked to the state DOT representatives on that, they had said because of the condition of the entire report, they felt it would be well worth the village having our village engineer, which you saw the email, the village engineer can get out there immediately. And that's the critical point is an engineer has to go out and do that assessment. And then I've been working with I can work with other sources to make our application be much more advantageous than just the bridge itself. We'd have to have there's a whole process with this, but the application is critical that it's drafted so that it meets as many parameters of why we're applying above and beyond the 80% funding. Because they said the bridge is at least $1 million plus, at a minimum, just the bridge, not the roads. It's very expensive.
Karen, is that what you're talking about here? We can complete that task for a lump sum of $1,000? Is that the village engineer's inspection?
Right, and doing the updated report, yes.
Inspection
and the
report.
report, yes.
And the report, okay.
But not the grant writing.
Oh, God, no, that we have to do.
Right.
Okay. Is there a cost involved in that as well?
For the engineer to go out?
For the grant?
Oh, no.
This is for the engineer.
Right. No, we have to write the grant, and I wouldn't use the engineer to write the grant.
You and John would
Yeah.
write it.
Okay.
And I have to say, the DOT has been just significant in giving suggestions to make the grant look as advantageous as possible. I mean, just honest to God, tremendous. And the DNR has been helpful. FEMA, I've enlisted FEMA. There's more things I'd like to do, but I didn't want to do too much because if the board said we don't want to do this, then it's like, well,
Right, we could put it off 2 years.
right.
I mean, we got it inspected October of 20, so you could wait until October of 22 and go on the next grant
Right.
round in 22 or 23.
Right.
I mean, that's the alternative. It is going to fail.
Even then, that wouldn't be until 25 at the earliest.
At the earliest that we'd even get money to start
I
building
mean,
it.
that,
Yes.
to me, is kind of the big thing. The rest of that road ain't gonna last that long, as far as I'm concerned.
Right. So that was, it's almost twofold. I really don't need the engineer to do the inspection on the roads approaching the bridge. Anybody that would go out there, and that's the biggest thing too, is the pictures. And, you know, we've got some good pictures, but I did want to ask the engineer to do a couple extra on areas, because the pictures present, you know, a great graphic. That's one of the things they stress.
When the rebar sticks through the plywood, yes, that's the kind of stuff.
And I want to get pictures of when it flooded over. I have some really good ideas, but I always want to talk to John too and see what, but I didn't want to do too much, because if the board wasn't in favor of applying for the grant and sending, the biggest issue is getting the engineer out there and seeing if this bridge is at a 50 instead of 50.3.
Is the engineer going to be here at staff? We didn't
No,
request him, okay.
no, my
So we're
biggest,
looking for action,
to authorize,
authorize not to exceed, authorize him to inspect it for not to exceed.
right,
And would that be for this evening?
yes, oh, yes.
Yeah, yeah. I was just asking about staff because if he was going to be here anyway, if we wanted to.
No, if we brought him to staff, that would be an extra charge.
Yeah, right, okay.
We don't need him at staff.
We don't need.
Get out of that bridge.
Sometimes we do have him at staff. but
Right.
Not this.
Maybe afterwards.
Yeah, I think after, maybe in the fall, after he's done, or before the grant goes in.
Yeah, he
Late
knows.
summer, we'll be able to, we'd probably get him in here anyway,
He knows he has to have this done in June.
so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
We
the
have
main issue is going to be that we get the 20% eventually in the budget or in the planning process.
Right, because the funding is 22 to 27. You have a long time, because there's a long process. If the village is successful in securing the grant, there's public hearings, there's lots of stuff we have to do.
a lot of bridges that need to be.
Right. Right. But the only thing, I just thought, at 80%, if we were lucky enough to get that grant, man, that's a big savings to the village of Vernon.
Right, and if we didn't qualify on this go-around,
We wouldn't give up.
we wouldn't give up, we'd go for the next go-around.
sure,
Instead of being at 45% or whatever it turns out to be, we'll be at 35 or 25, and, you know, we just have to wait to do it. I don't know how we can replace the bridge without federal money, without the federal money. It's
End of the day, though, we're gonna have to replace the bridge sooner or later.
right,
And it's just gonna cost more the longer we put it off.
right.
Because the
Look at-
expenses are gonna go up.
Look at the National Avenue Bridge. They delayed that how many years, and every year it went up, and they only got one vendor. Every year goes one
Right, the
vendor.
National Avenue Bridge, that's right.
That
Well, It went
redecking,
over projections, we better delay it out of our budget, and it kept going up and up and up, and their projections go up. The budget would go up every year, and the cost would go up even more.
and it was over budget,
And then it
35,000.
would turn out to be over budgeted anyway.
Right. I thought it was unusual too, you know, to go back and research this bridge. Whoever designs the bridge can't build it. That was my only concern is, you know, if we get that far, the design of the bridge, the engineers, the structural engineers that design that bridge, they can't build it. But they have a whole list. But I said to Foth, well, I'm sure all those engineers want to build it. I mean, how do you guys, because there must be a system, but they didn't tell me what it was.
So in other words, this is basically a pretty good investment of $1,000 to get things done, moving, and all in the right direction.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So we,
Still doesn't mean we're gonna get the grant, right, of course, but I think we need to take a shot at it.
It's worth this investment.
is there any state
Yes.
money?
No, in fact, when
we're
you
in for
become a
20%
village,
no matter what.
towns do, towns and counties do get state money. But once you're a village or a city, you only can get federal
Or
funding.
maybe we should go back to being a town? We'll pretend I didn't say that, all right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but the road aids are different for villages and cities too.
They are, and
Yeah.
in fact, when the town worked with the county on that massive culvert on the freeway there, our contribution was 20,000, theirs was 20,000. Boy, that was the best time to get that done, because that can never happen again.
Yeah.
Unless it's an emergency. If it's a state of emergency, sometimes fundings change with the county, but in this case, and this road, this bridge, it's only federal funding. And then with the new, supposedly discussion on new monies coming in, nobody knows what's happening there for sure. There might be additional money. But this is the for sure money for 2022, the 2027.
Yeah, the reason I ask about the state is because there's always talk about infrastructure and under various definitions of what constitutes infrastructure, but it seems to me a bridge will meet that definition, whether it's historical or new or whatever they want to make up. It's infrastructure.
Well, isn't that also Biden's plan for this huge infrastructure? And
Well, that's the other reason
they've
why.
listed out all the bridges that are just failing.
They might, that's the other reason why we might get our grant approved, because
Now's the right time.
even though it's just under the threshold, let's say, it's under the threshold and it might get approved, as opposed to in other years, it might have to be, 10% below the threshold to get approved.
And the funding that's available through the state from the federal government are guaranteed. No one knows yet what's happening with, the infrastructure. Everybody's waiting to see what's happening there.
Right. So we probably wouldn't knock the thing over for at least 24, probably, or 5, but depending.
And a lot, too, depends on the public hearing, the comments that come in, because the board has to weigh, and I do have to let you know, if we get to that point, we'll actually post on the bridge when the public hearing is, because I'm sure, Jim and Carl, the way you go home, you see people on that bridge, you see a lot of activity on that bridge.
Especially in the summer.
Right.
Yep.
I'm down to 10 miles an hour.
And the other potential resource we would have is the Fox River Commission, who allocates money for more recreational uses. Not that but there, could be a boat launch, there could be an area where people could safely fish off that bridge. I mean, there's other potential, funding sources, but the first piece is to see if it qualifies for federal funding, if that bridge is down to, 50% or lower.
Mr. President, I would like to make a motion, if it's okay at this
Yep.
point. I'd like to make a motion to authorize the village engineer to conduct a bridge inspection of the Center Avenue Bridge, not to exceed,
At a cost not to exceed.
at a cost not to exceed $1,000.
Okay, is there a second?
Second?
Any further discussion? Ladies? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank
All
you,
right.
thank you, board members.
Thank you. Okay, invoice 6829 needs to be voided, and invoices for, as listed in the agenda, dollar amounts that total up to the old voided invoice need to be issued to the appropriate parties, and I think this is simply a mistake, but
Yeah.
the clerk.
Yeah, what happened is
administrator
where you could see where the engineer had two costs related to the cell tower, and our assumption on the Prairie side is that the engineer actually went out on Prairie side to look at one of the cell towers on Prairie side, and we made the assumption that when the engineer listed the Prairie side in the chargeback, for us to charge back, we're under the assumption it was because of the cell tower issue, but in fact it was a Board of Appeals issue that was happening on the other side of Prairie side. So what I'd like to do is void the invoice that has the $184.80 off of the cell tower Keith Nyland bill, and then bill that back to the appropriate person that applied for Board of Appeals. So it would be voiding the invoice and then invoicing the $184.80 to the appropriate party.
So it's really a correction of a FOTH invoice that was under our chargeback ordinance It just went to the wrong party. Hopefully, it dates back here almost a year, but hopefully we'll collect and
And I just wanted to let the board know, we got a check today for $16,071.04 from the cell tower on the, I don't know if you saw the invoices, but they added some substantial legal and planning fees. We got the check today, and it's going in the bank tomorrow. Which cell tower? The one on Artesian.
the new one,
This is a lawsuit.
the new one that's under litigation.
But these fees are related to planning and chargeback, the 16,000.
Right. So we are looking for, let me just see here.
A motion to,
Yep, a motion, oops, I lost my agenda. A motion to void invoice number 6829, and to reissue invoices for $1,914.34 and $184.80 to the appropriate party in order to correct an
error in billing.
error in billing. Yeah.
Is that your,
Is there a second? Any further discussion? Trustee Gray.
Are these invoices that we're sending out as far as the village to someone else?
Correct,
Okay.
correct. Any further questions or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Wetland delineation by sewer pack for the Vernon Fire Department property, Fire Station Number 1, Woodland Avenue. We do make requests on behalf of other property owners to have sewer pack do wetlands delineation. It's at no cost, otherwise it's very expensive to get it done.
extremely expensive.
So we can make the request.
Right. This is what, we just did one not too long ago. This is one property. Pass this around, you should look at this. Significant property, but our request now is we're getting so many requests, not that you're gonna do anything, but requests from developers looking at the village's property on that corner. And we've never had a good wetland delineation of our property that we bought from the state. So that's the request. It's not for a developer. It's for us to know where the wetland line truly is on the property where the fire station number 1 on Woodland Avenue is. Anybody that's gone there, you know where the parking lot is and you see all the undeveloped land, but you've also see beyond there some ponds and some issues. So that is why we'd like to request the Regional Planning Commission to do a wetland delineation for the Village of Vernon's property on Woodland Avenue.
And it doesn't hurt to ask. I guess they can always say no or put it in the queue. But it is municipal property and it's 20-some acres. And if it's never been done, and we're in the process of mapping out all the wetlands
Right.
with FEMA.
FEMA,
and-
yes.
So it's pretty good timing to do that, just to know where that delineation is. In the event we need to expand the parking lot or other
Or put up a,
training tower or something else.
or a shed. A lot of times they talk about storage there. Not that we're promoting any of that, but having a good delineation of what the village can or cannot do on that site is. The only thing is it's not fast. I mean, if you see a report that they do, it's very detailed. And they use a lot of college students or interns when they're looking at wetlands. It's really a cool process, but I think the fact that, especially if you're a municipality, they don't charge at all. But it's just not tomorrow. We can't do anything. It's whenever they can fit it in.
So you're looking for a motion to direct the clerk administrator to request sewer pack to conduct a wetland delineation on Village of Vernon Fire Department property on Woodland Avenue. That'd be Fire Station number 1.
Correct.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second? Discussion?
Does that have, this has to do with this letter from Sean that's in our packet?
An email
Yes.
from Sean, right.
Okay. Help me understand this. It talks about a ground lease area of 75 inches by 75 inches might be located.
That's
Is it truly inches, or are we talking?
That's one developer. That's one developer that's looking at. Sean was just responding to a developer that was looking to put up a cell tower, but the calls on that property are nonstop. I mean,
And
But
I
what is
think
this
that's
with
75,
75
I
inches?
think that's 75 feet.
yes.
Because then he later talks about 75 feet as far as
It's 70.
clearance to the wetland.
It's
And I'm
75
like,
feet.
This, yeah.
for 75 inches.
And we
That's
just
6'3".
we just and we just went through that with the shoreline and floodplain. The setbacks are always 75 feet, and that's when John had said, "Oh, you can make it shorter," and we decided not to be consistent.
Right, and from time to time, we do get requests to put cell towers on our property. So,
Well, that would have been the recommended.
point on Artesian Avenue.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If
And
it
we
were up
did,
to us.
and we did
Yes.
offer, Jim. Just so you know, I have
Oh,
the
I know.
email. We have the.
Yes, we did offer.
Yeah.
Now, this,
Would have saved the lawsuit and a lot of consternation.
this report that's being passed around, this is on another property.
Yes.
Right, that's like an example of
That's-
a
Okay.
report that you would get.
But that's
With pictures, I mean, yeah, I see that it's extremely detailed. And
the nice thing too is a regional planning commission keeps that in their database and works with the county to perfect their maps also. And the village, since I've been there, I think we've done this 6 times. But it's so impressive on the work that the regional planning commission does in regards to a wetland delineation. Although I did see one done privately on Edgewood Avenue, you got to see that's like this thick. But they paid like $40-some thousand for that. They're expensive.
again, this is no cost to the village to get this report done, get our wetland
Mapped out.
mapped out and accurate, and
And they actually stake it. They'll actually stake it. And what's really important after that is when it's staked, you have all the measurements, it's concise, so you know exactly what your setback parameters are.
fantastic. Call for the vote, Mr. President?
Right, do we need a friendly amendment? We didn't say at no cost to the village. We could maybe have a friendly amendment, is that? You made the motion,
Right, but there isn't any,
but there isn't any, so that's why I didn't include it in my kind
Right.
of call.
Yeah.
but we
There
can
is no-
include it.
Right.
Because we're a municipality, there wouldn't be one anyhow.
That's
in
correct.
charge.
Right. If you wanted to,
The only thing is it's not tomorrow. It's when they can get it
It's when
in.
they get around to it.
Right.
Yep.
But it's worth the wait, I think. I think
oh yeah,
they're-
I think so, that's what I mean, just get it in the
Yeah.
queue, nothing else, right?
Yep.
I mean, eventually I'd like to do one out here. I was here when Jim Schwartzmaker came out and, did some preliminaries, but it's, the people that they send out, they start talking about plants and water and it's like, but, sorry.
So did you want a friendly amendment? It's fine with me.
A friendly second? Yes. Okay, we'll have friendly amendment and friendly second.
And you have to ask if there's any objections.
Any objections?
Note further? Yep,
Nope, sounds good.
Got it.
So we'll go take it to a vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Excellent. Now we're heading, the closed session items are at the end, we'll go into closed session. Nothing's going to be decided in closed session on the contract items with the North Prairie Municipal Court, or the ordinance for the municipal court, the T-Mobile lease, and the hydro excavators agreement or easement. But we'll come out of, no sense in talking about them now, we'll come out of closed session and talk about them in open session and make appropriate motions at that time. So we'll go to correspondence and announcements, village board president and trustees. I will start. First of all, I hope everyone had a great Mother's Day, especially the mothers, on May 9th. We did have, Plan Commission with the board had a public hearing for shoreland and wetlands on May 12th. That went very well. And we took action and adopted our ordinances and maps. Trustee Slaughter and I had and he can comment as well, had a shared service committee with the Village of Big Bend on Monday, and at that meeting, several things. The Village of Big Bend didn't say no, but they said they needed to do more due diligence on contracting with Vernon for fire and EMS services. Needless to say, we were both disappointed and somewhat frustrated that here it is in May and we're not making the progress that we thought we would have made by then. It looks like nothing is going to change in the meantime, nothing's going to change on the Intercept program, which, if, for the benefit of the public and the board members here, is a reminder, even though Fire Station 1 is manned with EMTs and paramedics at the firehouse, which provides for rapid response time. Big Bend still calls for a basic BLS service, Mukwonago, not Vernon. If they need advanced life-saving ALS service, they will call Vernon. The problem with that, of course, is it creates confusion, and I'm not sure the person calling 911 or the dispatcher really knows if they need ALS or BLS. And it's really a disservice to their residents that they just don't call Vernon. And we've been trying to at least take that step, and it looks like that is not going to happen until this contract issue gets resolved, unfortunately. Other things that we talked about was they are working on their emergency management update. We have that on our municipal plan, if you will, or at least mine, to look at what they're going to end up with and then revise ours. Long overdue.
Ours is from when I was the,
Chairman.
right.
Yes.
That's how old it is.
And so that's going to be coming up hopefully this summer. As far as the old Vernon Big Ben landfill, if you will, located on Edgewood Avenue at the corner there at Edgewood Avenue and Highway 164 across from the school, they did approve a development there on the property, not on top of the landfill, but on the property surrounding the landfill, and they are building rental units. I think it was described as 10 buildings, totaling 42 units. They're going to be condominiumized. There's going to be over 100,000 square feet of storage space there. And that has been approved by the Village of Big Bend. So at that corner, that's what, if you see them in there working, that's what they're doing. What else did they talk about? They did talk about their future water and sewer service, and ask if Vernon was interested in creating some type of utility district with them. I think it's very preliminary. From my standpoint, and I stated this, is I don't believe our residents want sewer and water, especially in subdivisions. If people want a sewered and watered subdivision lot, there's alternatives in the city of Waukesha, New Berlin, Muskego, Mukwonago, that those people can go buy lots in and build houses in. In Vernon, that's not how our residents want that. So we pointed to the map. The only thing that would make sense is perhaps in some sort of business park. And, you know, I pointed to the map right behind Trustee DeGrave and said, look at the red areas. So that was the extent of that discussion. I would say that's probably going nowhere. Let me see what else I got on my report. Yeah, we had a board of review this last week, 2 days ago. That has been concluded. And the last item is we were not going to Well, we'll have staff next week, but happy Memorial Day and remember the fallen on May 31st. With that, I'll turn it over to trustee Solani.
Thank you, sir. I just had two things. One, I forgot to say it when our DPW director, John, was here. I've had several people comment to me regarding the brush pickup. One, how happy they are that we're actually doing it. And they seem to be doing it so well. Where I haven't had any complaints where anybody's getting their grass torn up or anything. And that it's almost like the guys were actually raking the lawn or something when you were done, which, it was good to hear. And then, so that's really the only real one I had. But just to follow up on the discussion on the shared services, the intercept thing I don't understand at all. Why that isn't just a no-brainer, why they just wouldn't direct their fire chief to stop screwing around and call us instead, immediately. Clearly, we can get there faster than anybody else can, faster than Big Bend people can, because half the time they don't have people available, and certainly faster than McGuanago can. So that is probably the number one frustration with me, because we've been talking to them about that, offered them that service, last October? Something of that nature,
But actually, it was probably before you got on the board, we offered it, so it's been offered, but yes.
Right, I mean, it's, the other part I understand, there's some politics involved in making a change, and they have to be able to, I'll say, defend their decision, So I understand some of that. I just don't understand why some of that due diligence hasn't been done in the last 8 months. But that's my frustration with them, or our frustration. And we did express that to the 3 representatives from Big Bend, and they understood our level of frustration. They too seemed almost as frustrated about not being able to make the decisions yet. This too shall pass. That's all I have, sir.
Trustee DeGrave.
Well, I'd like to, again, wish everybody a safe and happy Memorial Day weekend coming up here. And second of all, just wanted to mention that I completed the government officials workshop. I'm finding it helpful. Some of the things that we have gone through, I'm now starting to understand a little better. So I need to probably just refresh a little bit of some of those areas, but especially on the variances and conditional use permits and stuff like that. I'm looking forward to talking to Sean at the staff meeting a little bit, I think. That's all.
Thank you. Trustee Krumashek.
Next Tuesday, we have a human resource meeting. And we're, with Jim's guidance, we are just flying along, doing really well. We're done with the employee handbook. We met with John Henneberry, and we're going to be working on the contracts now. So we're right on schedule, if there is a schedule.
If I may add, the safety manual is what we're going to look at
Next?
next. I sent it to everybody as well.
Okay.
But that's one of the things on our topic, because we don't have one.
Okay.
So we do now. We just have to brush it over, and then we need to give it to John again and let him review it.
Yep. That's all.
Thank you. Trustee Dashik.
Yeah, I would just like to say how impressed I am with our newest village trustee, one of our newest village trustees. He's so dedicated to learn everything he possibly can in taking these classes, which I did not do that. But it was quite a time commitment, and I'm so impressed and happy that you are that interested in doing well here. And I'd like to wish everyone a safe and happy Memorial Day.
Okay, thank you. Clerk Administrator Shu.
I just wanted to let the board know, at the staff meeting, I've talked to our federal officials in regards to many village residents' frustrations with the fact that they live in Vernon, and there's no identifying factor in regards to a Vernon postal code. So I'd like to bring that up at staff. It's got to be at least once a week, somebody's complaining that whether they went to the DOV, or they went to the school, or whatever, trying to explain, we have 3 different school districts, we have 8 different zip codes, so there's nothing I can do as a clerk administrator. It has to come from the village board. And I've asked residents to please call you when they complain, because if you guys aren't hearing it, I can tell you it, how many times, but it's good for residents, no matter what their issue is. Not that they have to complain, but I just wanted to let you know that I'd like to bring that up at staff. Also, I attended a seminar with the DOT and all the representatives. That was like 6 hours worth of the best information from the DOT, all federal people, that are just so helpful in regards to giving information to local officials and local staff people to help them with, you probably wouldn't think streets or bridges or culverts would be a big deal, but boy, when you start getting into that, that's a big plus. And I'm just so impressed with the amount of help that there is for local officials. Also, as you know, I've been going to seminars for all the floodplain. You saw the press release that we now are in. People can get floodplain insurance, which they never could before, which is a big plus. The Village of Vernon Board did. Also, Gordon Stars from the DNR would like to meet. And President Fortner is going to come to that meeting also. Sean Malarkey and Vince Budiak also are coming. We're going to review the FEMA maps for floodplain, and that's significant because we have some discrepancies in the FEMA maps versus the Regional Planning Commission maps versus the county's map. So if there's ever a good time to get some concise information, or if there's ambiguities that we have, the DNR has been awesome in regards to working with the village, and we hopefully will have the Village of Waukesha join us also, because we share the same planner and building inspectors, but I'm obviously more concerned about the Village of Vernon, so that's in the works also. Howard is this close. All the reports have been filed. He's like, probably next week, in the first week of June, you're going to be getting the draft financial reports, and the president will talk to you in regards to setting up a meeting to go through that draft financial report before it's public, because they don't make it public until the board's had a chance to look at it and digest it and review it. So with that, I want to give you the trial balances and all the information so that you can see. I want you to see the journal entries. I want you to see his trial balance, my trial balance, the ending numbers for December. And I did also find out and I wanted to state this publicly, Carl, so we don't forget it. Last year when we did our levy limit worksheet, there was a gross ambiguity in regards to filling that sheet out. And we got penalized $9,000 that our auditor said was not explained well. Last October, I did a chargeback for an error from the assessor, and the state said to me today, well, just want to let you know that in your levy worksheet that we do this year, we get $172.10 of a credit that the state owes us for that chargeback. She said, I just wanted to let you know on Section D, letter D, you can claim $172.10. So that's my report, sorry.
Okay, thank you. We'll have the levy limit. I think that a good time to get into that very specifically is with Howard at, our financial meeting.
Yes, yeah.
So we'll get that on the agenda.
Remember how frustrated Howard was?
Yes, and I'm frustrated too. Okay, thank you. We can move to finances and accounts payable May 2021. And I did talked to our clerk administrator earlier today, and she's provided some more information here. So let's go through it.
You just see the void. I explained to my staff, whenever we do a Home Depot check, it has to be done in 2 checks only because one's fire department, one's DPW. So I wanted you to see the void, and I also wanted you to see the individual charges as it relates to the DPW, Home Depot, and the Vernon Fire Department Home Depot account. President Fortner indicated that in your APs, you did not have an invoice for 36, it was a waste management recycling pickup. That's from Waste Management, 36, what was it, Carol, 96?
36 and 76 cents.
Yeah. So whenever, that's on an on-call basis, whenever our recycling container fills up, they come and pick it up, and then we get a charge for that.
This is the special one we have for residents.
Right.
In the yard to drop off basically cardboard and recycle,
Right.
all recyclables, but
Right.
it does get filled pretty quickly.
We also are charged for our garbage pickup, special pickup. We get free, like, daily, the weekly, but when the DPW guys have to go out and pick up things that people leave on the streets, that's on an on-call basis also.
And before we signed our new contract with Advanced, now Waste Management, we did talk about going to weekly recycling, but it was just not cost effective. And so the alternative was to have a drop-off spot here, and it's worked well.
And previously, the county picked up the tab on that, but the county doesn't anymore.
Right.
Can I go back to the Home Depot?
Yeah, let's go back to Home Depot. Yes.
Looking at this, it looks like it all says fire department.
There should be a separate one for the DPW. It has 2 receipts on it. It's for 200 and,
Right. The first,
the DPW one is only 1 page. That's DPW.
$202.74. 2 charges, 79 and 122. They total 202.74. That's
Right.
DPW.
Which one?
Yep,
Yeah.
this
Oh,
one.
okay.
And then the other,
So this does not appear on these other statements?
no, on your APs that was in your packet, the Home Depot check was done in one, which you can't do because they're 2 separate accounts. So I voided.
Home Depot has us having 2 separate accounts.
Right, and that's really important because in all honesty, the DPW brings that in every month. As you can see, the fire department's not quite as timely, but you can see on one of the fire department charges, they charge $2 and some cents in tax. I did not pay that, and I will put our tax exempt information in the packet just so that they realize that you put a charge on there that we're not paying. And my staff is aware that when they, they understand that you have to see all the corresponding receipts as it relates to what charges. I mean, it's good when they put on there that something was already paid. You need to know that also, but trying to think what else you found, Carl.
Yeah, it was,
And I wanted you to see that we did void that original Home Depot.
right. And
Combined.
in Waukesha County is getting 1 check, sheriff and the other 2 charges. Are we going to divide those up? Getting 1 check for all those.
Yeah,
Those three
yeah, but
different
in the future, I'd like to split those out too.
Right.
And the sheriff's department had some issue in regards to our non-payment. So I wanted you to see that we are current,
Yeah, we were always current.
yes. So it's their error, which happens. I mean,
And also the signs, John mentioned, the road signs, you'll see a payable to Lang Enterprises in there for road signs if you saw it.
and we put that in the appropriate account that the board allocated money for, Mr. President?
Okay, good. So if we add up, back to Home Depot, so we've got DPW 202, and then the rest is approximately $1,180, let's say. And I don't see a little tape here, but that's all fire department.
I think it's on the one sheet, purple.
Am I missing a sheet?
Give up. There's a back-to-back one Carl, that has
Oh.
this. It has
Oh, this one.
Yeah,
Oh, this one here.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, okay, got it. It's the purple sheet.
I just, yeah, and like I said, I did, the one where it says tax exempt, I wanted to actually put that on the check. I mean, I don't know, it's $2, but I'll put our tax exempt paperwork in there again.
Oh, yeah. Well, don't pay it, just send
I
them the.
didn't,
yeah,
I didn't.
Just send them the certificate, that's all.
Yeah, so you can see the DPW charges are now $202.74, because there was a $39 charge that they had put on, the DPW, which was already paid. But all these other charges that you see in the corresponding, invoice, those were all not paid. Also in the fire department, you see a $55.21 plus and then a negative. I didn't even put that on.
Right. There's a return.
Right.
Yep. Okay, so our batch total, you're voiding out the Home Depot 1383, and you're recreating 2 new checks, but they don't necessarily add up to the 1383, they add up
Right.
to
So it's a negative.
89.35.
1289.35, so we should knock off $93.94
Right.
from the batch total,
That is correct.
and so that is, you did the math here, 98,175.54.
54.
And I don't have my little calculator to double check, so I'll check.
And that,
What was that number again?
it is 98,175.54.
On your purple sheet.
And trustee
Right, so-
Dashik, did you see the voided check for Home Depot in the checks? Yeah, so even though you see, I wanted you to see that we actually voided that check, but also I put it
There is all
in
the information.
the checks for trustee Dashik. She usually signs the checks first, but that voided check is in there also, so trustee Dashik and President Fortner will see that also. On the fire department, I'm not sure, but all the DPW guys can charge at Home Depot and Menards. No, they have to identify themselves, and especially for the fire department, Home Depot will actually call and say, I have so-and-so here. They'll call to make sure that person,
And then, of course, you can do it yourself.
no, they never go to, I'm the only one that, if I have to go to Menards or Home Depot, or sometimes I have to go to the Home Depot for the guys because they're too busy, but I can charge there too. And that's on the credit card policy. It's got who can charge to Menards and who can charge to Home Depot. We don't have the names for the fire department on that. That's one thing we don't have. We have the names for DPW and here, but we don't know from the fire department's perspective who can all charge. Right.
Yeah.
I don't think there's ever been a file on that. I've looked, but we should get something to the chief.
Yes.
Change of topic. Procedurally, in the past at any rate, it's been very easy for me to just print this one sheet off or multiple sheets off, and then I sit on the computer and go through them because they've always been in the same order. This time they're not.
So this, that's the one sheet is the deposit. There's a difference, I don't know if you've noticed that, the top sheet has the check order and it starts with the ACH transactions.
Yep.
And then the other sheet, you have 2 sheets that has all the accounts. Is there a preference? Because they're 2 different, they're different. Do you want your report to match that top sheet?
Well, that's the way I've been doing
Then
it.
we'll-
And it has in the past, or at least
Right.
the actual invoices.
And the other thing too is the Sam's, the receipts were there, but it wasn't identified to you. The village board has authorized Sam's Clubs to be paid by ACH. The problem is they didn't put Sam's Club and/or the corresponding, they have the receipts from Sam's Clubs, but you had no idea that receipt was from Sam's Club.
Exactly.
Right,
On this sheet, it says Sam's Club.
right,
But I couldn't find an invoice
Right.
that matched.
right. So we'll correct that.
Spectrum Business also, for some reason. I never found,
Yeah, there should have been 2 Spectrum bills.
yeah, we got 2 invoices, or 2 on here, but I never found them in my packet,
Yeah,
in the e-packet.
Yeah, I found the Spectrum.
I'll double check the e-packet.
Well,
Maybe.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, we
but
tried,
it just seemed like they weren't in the order, because, that's kind of how I go through them, and it was real
Right.
easy if they're in the same order.
They were in alphabetical order. Spectrum was buried in here instead of at the top.
Oh,
yeah, so we'll correct that. And the other thing is Centurion is another account that the board said to do by ACH. It's a payroll, health
Yeah.
insurance. And we're still working on, that's, whenever you've got the state or ETF involved, it's a little bit more complicated on the setup, but we'll get that set up by ACH also.
I had,
I had a question on the payroll. There's ICI, so we have income continuation. Is that a benefit, or do people pay for that?
They don't pay for it because there's been a holiday for income continuation. You're talking about the ACH transactions now?
I don't know, I was looking at the sheet itself.
Yeah, that's the ACH transaction that you're gonna approve next.
Okay, and that, the village takes care of that.
Yes. There, nobody pays for that. Well, since I've been here since 2013, there's been a holiday for income continuation, and all new employees that have that benefit have applied for the highest level of income continuation, knowing full well that if that changes, they have the right to go back and change that, because at the level that they're at, you'd have to pay extra for that benefit. But since it's on a holiday, a premium holiday, there is no payment, to that. The village picks up a 180-day cost where they're, I'll get that to, that's something that human resource should have. Because there's been a,
it's not in our,
No, we need to talk about that.
right.
yeah, that's all part of ETF's benefit package.
One other last question on this thing.
Yes, sir.
INOS. The company name? 42 mailbox.
Those are all the secure emails. One-on-one, INOS is all the security that we pay for the Village of Vernon emails. It's all village, it's everyone that has an email for the Village of Vernon. So we have DPW people a few John, Vince, although we did just drop Vince because he never uses a secure email. But it's all, that's the security.
That's our email system, basically.
Okay. I didn't recognize it, didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
Okay, Sue, any further questions? Otherwise, we'll entertain a motion to approve batch, accounts payable batch 20120520 in the amount of $98,175.54.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second? Second by trustee Dashik. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
I abstain.
One abstention. Okay.
Carl? Are we still in finances?
Yep, so we're going to manual checks.
Okay. I just had a question on the bank statement.
That's the next item.
Well,
There's no manual check, so you can,
okay, we've got manual checks, no manual checks.
now you can go on.
Now we're on to April 2020 ACH transactions. So now we're on ACH. In the amount of $159,972.42. You got a question on ACH or the bank statement?
The bank statement.
The bank statement.
Why is there any money moving between our main checking account and that tax collection account
In,
in April?
because the village, Citizens Bank was charging $10 because you have to have a minimum of $1,000 in the account. That's not what I was told when I opened the account. They told me $100, and they said, nope, it has to be $1,000.
So we moved some money there to maintain our minimum.
Right, so we're not getting charged $10 a month for a service fee.
So it's $1,000, not $100 now. Is that right?
Yeah, there was 100 in there, but they said it has to be 1,000, and they would refund all the charges that they had charged us previously. But we had to move that money back into the tax collection, so it freezes at 1,000.
That's a good explanation. I just didn't understand
Right.
otherwise why it would be.
Right, and you're going to see Terry just moved the Life Quest. What he's moving is when he's making that movement, he's going to show you the Life Quest invoices, the bank statements, and why he's moving the money. And the Life Quest bank statement will always fluctuate, but he'll show you his substantiation of why he moves the money from Life Quest into the general account, what he's basing that on. And at staff, just so you know, at staff, Citizens Bank is still working out some type of secure login for, when the board talks about who they all want to get into the account, because that was something that the board talked about, and allowing a few deputies. That's something that, Mr. President, I'd like to put on staff, not for a decision, but just for more discussion on how many members the board wants to get secured into all the accounts so they could look at them. Because the security at Citizens Bank is totally different than it was before. Very secure.
Right, viewing versus actually transactions. So
Right, but-
and making sure that distinction is very clear and who's on which side.
And
back up
Howard.
for you.
Right.
Right.
And Howard would like a board member to be in looking at the accounts whenever they feel they'd like to look at what's happening in that account, especially since we don't get copies of checks anymore. They don't do that anymore. So it's nice. And it typically was Lorene and Carl because they sign checks. So, but we can talk about that at staff.
So right now, who could go into this?
Just the treasurer and myself. And the auditor. But he can't do anything. He could just look.
Okay, so that'll be on staff. and
Right, just
if
for more
necessary-
discussion, just to get
Necessary, we can also talk about it with Howard at a
at
finance
finance.
and
That's
joint
probably
board.
more appropriate when Howard.
Because then Howard can say, this is what he recommends doing. So we get a recommendation. Okay, so we're looking for a motion to approve the ACH transactions in the amount of $159,972.42. I'll make that motion.
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I abstain.
And one abstention. Okay, on to minutes. April 15th, 2021 minutes. I think we tabled these last time, but I think they're all fixed up. Yeah, I think so. So unless people have corrections or suggestions or comments. Otherwise, I'll make a motion to approve the Thursday, April 15th, 2021 Village of Vernon Board minute.
I'll second that one.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I abstain.
Motion passes 3-0 with two abstentions because they were not board members at that meeting. Okay, now we're on the May 6th. Questions, comments on May 6th? Otherwise, we'll look for a motion to approve the May 6th, 2021 Vernon Board meeting.
Mr. President, I'll make a motion to approve the May 6th minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion, questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we're on to number 10, announcement of next village meeting dates. As mentioned several times, Village Board and Staff meeting, May 27, next week, Thursday, 1 o'clock here. Then we're into June. We're into our regular board meetings are June 3 and June 17th, 7 p.m. And we have a Village Board, it's listed as the Village Board and Plan Commission, June 9, 2021, 7 p.m. I'm not sure about the Village Board.
Mr. President, we just found out that is no longer a village board meeting. It will only be Plan Commission on June 9th.
Only Plan Commission, June 9th.
Look how sad Marie and Lorene are.
I'm so happy.
At 7 p.m.
They're crying.
Okay. Yeah, I had marked that on my agenda to double check that. Okay, with that clarification, we will go to item number 11, and I will make the motion to go into closed session as I read and as printed in the agenda. Is there a second?
Second?
The motion will require a roll call vote.
President Carl Fortner.
Yes.
Trustee Jim Solani.
Yes.
Trustee Dan DeGrave.
Yes.
Trustee Marie Kumarshek. Trustee Lorene Dashik.
Yes.
Mr. President, note for the record that your village board has voted to go into closed session by unanimous voice vote.
Okay, thank you. And again, for the benefit of the public, we will not be making any decisions in closed session. This is to discuss negotiating these contracts as listed with T-Mobile, North Prairie, and Hydro Excavation. And then we will reconvene into open session and take whatever action is necessary on those items. So with that, we will take a 5-minute break. We'll be in closed session at 8:30.
Hey, Carl.